Okay, I want to start off by giving all praises to Yahweh, Bahashim, Yahweh Shai, Bahashim, Rakat, Kwadash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone who teach the Bible in 100% truth. And Shalom to the hopeful elect, starting with 144,000, consisting of the Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans in the land of North, Central, and South America, as well as the speckled bird, the Israelite foreigners living amongst the other nations. Shalom to you. Today, again looking at prophetical events that are due to take place. In the previous video, mentioned 2024 and how the fact that Yahweh, Bahashim, Yahweh Shai is turning up the heat on this whole situation. The fact that we're due to see the Third World War very soon, and the implementation of the MOTB. And Matthew chapter 24 talks about a time like never been seen before, which is a time that we're going to see surrounding those two particular events, those two particular prophecies. And then there are many prophecies which coincide with these two major prophecies. Jacob's trouble, 2nd Ezra's chapter 15, for example, 16, so on and so forth. So 2024, if you notice, like I mentioned, in the previous video, Yahweh Bahashim, Yahweh Shai is now rising up to the prey. So a great division is being caused. Yahweh Shai, the scriptures again, talk of Yahweh Shai bringing great division amongst family members, amongst kingdoms, other nations, and various groups of people. There's going to be a huge uproar, sedition amongst men, and pretty much all hell has to break loose on this planet Earth. When it comes to the actual day of the Lord, Yahweh Bahashim, Yahweh Shai, there will be people going about their normal daily business in certain parts of the planet, but pretty much you're going to have a great terrible time. Many different things happening to many different types of people, different types of evil, famine, death, and so on and so forth. In Babylon the Great, we're expecting these camps to be set up, where they have the guillotines, and we're expecting a great persecution of the Israelite people, in particular in Babylon the Great. 2/3 of the Israelites in America have to perish, will not make it past the day of the Lord. And so Yahweh Bahashim, Yahweh Shai is bringing great judgment very soon. And so the heat has to be turned up. It gets hot and then it gets hotter. So we've seen in the situation in the Middle East, things are really starting to get hot when it comes to the Third World War. And then since then, it's only been 3 weeks, and we've had a escalation of events. And now we see other nations looking to get involved very soon. So first it gets hot, and then it gets hotter. And so with these other prophecies that have to coincide with Jacob's trouble, with the MOTB, with the Third World War, these things have to be brought to the boil. So Yahweh Bahashim, Yahweh Shai has to make moves, and has to actually make these scriptures come to life. And I spoke of telephonic events in the previous video, and that's the time we're going to be seeing. These scriptures have been written down thousands of years ago, and these prophecies have been spoken of, they've been broken down, and here we are in the latter days, the very end latter days, and the understanding of these scriptures has been brought back to us. So now we recognize the scriptures, we understand them, and then we're now in a time where we're about to see many of these prophecies actually physically occur. Yahweh Bahashim, Yahweh Shai is bringing judgment through the prophecies that are mentioned in the scriptures, and they're going to make them real life events that are going to be happening around us very soon. 2024 is going to be a huge year. And so one of those, particular prophecies, I think it's Revelation chapter 20. Let me just move that. That should actually stick that down there. So this is Revelation chapter 20. And it says it, and I saw thrones, and they sat upon them, and judgment was given unto them. And I saw the souls of them that were beheaded for the witness of Yahushua. So to be a witness of Yahushua, you have to be speaking this word and bringing out this truth to the world. You're living in a world there are many lies, and these lies are very deep rooted into people's subconscious and their lives and their tradition and their family bloodlines. So here you are, you come along with this truth, and you're bound to upset people, because you're now going to tell them that the so-called God that they've been calling on for all these centuries doesn't actually exist. And we bring the scriptures, and we bring certain information, certain artifacts to back up what we're saying. And to us, it's when we receive this information, we accept it. Our spirit is made to accept it, and we get joy from it. But those who do not have the spirit for this, those who are not part of the elect, this word is very disturbing to them. It like I say, it causes ruptions in that deep-rooted belief system that they have within their mind. So when you come along with this truth, really you're eradicating certain parts of their mental setup, and they rather than just throw that in the bin and have to start all over again, people don't they don't do that. So they defend, and they can become very aggressive with it. But it says here, and I saw souls of them that were beheaded for the witness of Yahushua. So those witness, you've got the Christian church, they claim to be a witness of Jesus, but Jesus is not actually the Messiah of the Bible. The name of the Messiah of the Bible is Yahushua. So when we come with our witness statement, it's very factual and it's very evident from the scriptures. For example, I could go to Revelation chapter 1. I could give you a description of Yahushua, and I could say, well, look, he's wearing a green garment with a gold belt, without even looking at the colour of his skin. And it's written right there. But, when you go to the Christian church, never have I seen a picture, of so-called Jesus wearing a green garment with a gold belt. So, as witnesses, they fail. And when you come to the Hebrew Israelites as witnesses of Yahushua, the Messiah of the Bible, we give you the description. We can give you a description of, what the Apostle John saw him wearing. We can also give you a description of the colour of his skin, so on and so forth. So we are credible witnesses, and we use the scriptures to back up what we say. This is the scary thing to these other nations, to these other religions. Just to finish the precept here, and it says, and I saw souls of them that were beheaded for the witness of Yahushua and for the word of Yahweh the Most High, which had not worshipped the beast, neither his image, neither had received his mark upon their foreheads or in their hands, and they lived and reigned with Hamashiach 1,000 years. So the main key thing from this particular prophecy is the beheading of the witnesses of Yahushua. When will that happen? That's going to happen in the time of Jacob's trouble. Evidently, looking at World War III, we know that's around the corner. So the MOTB has to be pushed. Jacob's trouble has to ensue. There has to be a total loss of society control of society within America. Babylon the Great, for example, all hell has to break loose. People have to be dragged to guillotines, and these people have to be speaking the word of Yahweh Shai, the witnesses, and they have to be the true witnesses. So you look at it and then you think, well, what is it, first of all, that these people are going to be beheaded for that word, for that testimony of Yahweh Shai? When it comes to the MOTB, people say, if you don't take the MOTB, you could be beheaded. Well, really, the idea of the MOTB is that if you're not tempted into taking the MOTB, then you've pretty much survived the test. But if you don't take it, you're left out there on your own. You can't be a part of society, you can't buy or sell, and chances are you could starve inside of 7 days. So when the secret council of the wicked, the New World Order, bring through this MOTB, the punishment for not being on board with it will not necessarily be the guillotine. It will be being left out of society, not being able to buy or sell. So which part of the word, we go back to these witnesses of Yahweh Shai, so which part of the word is it that these members could be beheaded for? And it's not specifically the truth of the MOTB, but it's for the fact of we're telling you who the true Messiah is. That great division, the biggest, the most upsetting piece of information that we bring to these other nations and these religions is the name of Yahweh and Yahweh Shai. Don't forget the name of the Most High is terrible among the heathens, Allah Shaja, and that is the great divide. So we've been out here for years. Certain men have been out here for longer, speaking this word, bringing this truth out. People are taking notice. When you go to Revelation chapter 11 and 11, it says, great fear fell upon them. It says, and after 3 days and a half, the Spirit of life from the Most High entered into them. Who's that? The 144,000 and the members of the elect. And it says, and they stood up upon their feet, and great fear fell upon them which saw them. So they've seen us speaking this word. And, some of them, scoff at it. Some of them wave, fan their hand, puff their cheeks. But some people take notice and they listen to it and they say, well, these guys sound correct. And see, so now we're in the time for, as I explained in the previous video, is it for telephonic events? The Most High is going to make these precepts come to life. We're speaking, we've spoken of this Third World War, and all of a sudden the whole world can easily accept that we're on the edge of World War today. If anyone out there were to try and argue against that point, you'd consider that person very foolish. You probably wouldn't hold the conversation for very long with them. It'd be considered a waste of time. So the whole world can see what we've been speaking of, and this is, like I said, we're about to see more of these events. Yahweh Bahashim, Yahweh Shai, making it clear and obvious, a manifestation to humankind of these particular precepts. So beheading of the witnesses have to come. What's been happening since this invasion in the Middle East 3 weeks ago? A great divide has taken over the whole earth. You're now either supposed to be on one side or the other side of this particular argument, with the small hats and Hamas. The true prophets don't take a side, we take the side of prophecy. But the whole world's been given this particular choice, and you're seeing Yahweh Bahashim, Yahweh Shai make that divide. The scriptures talk of Yahweh Shai coming to divide. Telephonic events, pretty much, this is what it is. Just read the scriptures, the division is, you've seen always small examples of division here and there, and now that great division is coming. Don't forget, this is judgment for the whole planet. So everybody's going to get this issue together at the same time. The Third World War is a plague that will affect everybody on the planet together at the same time. And so, so there's this great division. And out of this great division, we've seen what's been happening in the media. Slowly they've been building up this campaign against this particular truth. Why? Because, we say that we are the true children of Yahweh Bahashim, Yahweh Shai. Yet you've got the small hats over there involved in this conflict who have complete control of the media and the banking system. The whole world is waking up to it. So now these guys are creating an enemy to themselves so they can fulfill what they want to fulfill. They want to fulfill this Third World War. They want to change the worldwide economic system to a digital system, and they pretty much want to eliminate those speaking this word, this truth, because great fear has fallen upon them since the Spirit entered into us. So, we're seeing these anti-small hat events just, multiply and escalate very quickly and very fast in the last 3 weeks. And so, when we enter into 2024 and we're very close to World War III, this situation, is timed perfectly by Yahweh Bahashim, Yahweh Shai, to bring more chaos, more disruption around the world. This is all going to lead to that time like never been seen before on this earth. Pretty much, people are going to be enemy against their neighbours, and so on and so forth. This is the BBC. This is dated the 30th of October. It says how social media fueled anti-small hat violence in Dagestan, Russia. And I don't know if you've seen, but on Sunday, a group of people stormed an airport in Russia, and a plane, when planes were landing, they were trying to storm the plane looking for small hats. So, we're seeing these events all over the earth. The world is very much divided. It's based around the argument of, who these small hats really are and what they're really about. When it comes to verbally vocalizing against them, who's number one? The Hebrew Israelites, because we tell you exactly who they are. We tell you they're not those people, and we'll tell you who the people really are. And we use all this evidence from history and the current world that's happening at the minute and the scriptures. And it's too much to, in reality, these scriptures are too much to ignore. And the people the elites, they're clever. They know what we're talking about. So they have to paint us as the enemy. To take where is it? Back to Revelation chapter 20. To take a man, you've got to realise you've got a man standing on the corner of a street reading a book, and it's called a Hebrew Israelite, and now you want to drag him to the guillotine and chop his head off. It says here, and I saw souls of them that were beheaded for the witness of Yahweh Shai. So you've got to drag this man from the street corner to the guillotine. You've got to chop his head off. You've got to justify it. That's how they work in this world. They have wicked ideas, and then they just create reasons to justify it, and they go forth with it. So, speaking this word, the next logical step, you could say that, for example, this situation in Russia, you could say, that's an insider job, which it probably is. It most likely probably is. They've probably, a group of people been paid to create this situation, and it's escalating. The same people that this problem is against, the small hats, they own the media, so they escalate it. Now, if in the media, if you're a journalist and you speak against the small hats, it's a huge problem. If you're a celebrity or a famous personality, it's a problem to speak against these people. So who's left speaking against these people? The men of Yahweh Bahashim, Yahweh Shai. So eventually, they create these false flag events to create an agenda to come against anybody that speaks against this truth. I came across this one as well regarding the same situation. It says here, US rejects Putin's claim that the West organized anti-small hat airport. So, Putin's come out and said, this is an inside job. This is not Russian people. They've been paid. They've come over here. They're creating this problem. Chances are, He's telling the truth, but obviously the US reject it. So they're going to keep putting these false flag situations into place until they can build up enough hatred within the media and enough reasoning to go and persecute the Hebrew Israelites. There's one other article. It's this one here. Back to this one. Back to this article. The headline, it says how social media fueled anti-small hat violence. So this is what they're saying. Since the situation with the small hats has erupted 3 weeks ago, social media is now bringing out a lot of, anti-small hat violence. And so who goes on social media and speaks? Who has flooded social media with intellectual information regarding the small hats being a false people? The Hebrew Israelites have. So really, when you remove violence out of it, the Hebrew Israelites are number one enemy on social media to these small hats. They could easily claim, which they're going to do, is to say that this part of this hatred is incited by these Hebrew Israelites. You see, what they've done is they've created the divide. This is Yahweh Bahashim Yahweh Shai. He's created a divide to make prophecy occur. People are getting angry. Then you could say that people are paid to make violent situations occur. So now you have the violence. Now you have to blame the violence on somebody. So they're going to blame it on the Hebrew Israelites. They're going to go, well, you're on social media, you flood it with this word, and now look what's happened all around the world. All these people are, creating these violent situations. So all they need to do at that point, you know where I'm going with this. Logically, all you need to do at that point is try to capture on social media a Hebrew Israelite, physically confronting this scenario, this situation, whichever way around it may be. You can say, well, it was because of this reason or it was because of that reason, but ultimately what Yahweh Bahashim Yahweh Shai will do is he will take a situation and create a confrontation in social media between Hebrew Israelites and between this scenario, whoever's side, and now the Hebrew Israelites have been dragged into the conversation, with this violence that's taking place around the world. And we've seen it through social media. It says how social media fueled anti-small hat violence. So who's fueling it? With social media. If the Hebrew Israelites allow ourselves to be linked with them, then they will say that we're the ones fueling it. And you've seen what happened. You know where I'm going with this. So we have Chief Ephraim and the WFI, Watchman for Israel. If you don't know, I've got you've got Chief Ephraim. Now the situation that took place over the weekend, shouldn't really have happened. Yet this particular person is calling for round two. Many brothers have brought out the fact that he's made this video in the color red, as you can see the screenshot. Red is a trigger color to a bull to attack. So you've got this particular person who is pretty much creating a confrontation and inviting it. He's on social media and he's letting it be known that he's ready to confront these particular people. Now he may mean that he's going to confront them with words, but involving yourself in this particular situation, which is already bordered on the lines of violence, it's obviously not a wise thing to do. And then you have this particular person here, WFI, Watchman for Israel. So you must have seen what's happening, as he told you himself. It's all over social media. You can't get, simple does what simple does. Simple do what simple does. And when you're simple, you're not really going to think about what you speak and how it's going to affect the situation. So he's coming out going, you must have seen it. It's all over social media. Damn right, it's all over social media. It says here how social media has fueled anti-small hat violence in Dagestan, Russia. So, where I'm going with this, who's fueling this violence? These so-called Hebrew Israelites, and who's at the front of that? These two particular guys. You've got this guy here and this guy here, who pretty much creating this scenario. So, we don't know where this particular situation will go, but at this point, you have to start asking yourself, who is who? A lot of these are probably agents. If people are getting paid, go to Russia to create the violence, and then they want to blame the violence on somebody speaking, they need to then pay someone who's speaking to drag themselves into the violence, and now they can link it all together. So chances are this is probably an agent, maybe not. I could be wrong, but a lot of people, coming out to rebuke these two particular individuals, which is correct. That's exactly the right thing to do. Personally, I take the viewpoint that this is just Yahweh Bahashim, Yahweh Shai, using the simple ones out there, the ones who are not really speaking his word properly, the ones who are not necessarily his prophets. The Most High is using them in their own pride to create scenarios to bring us to the fulfillment of Revelation chapter 20 and 4. Some will be beheaded for this word, and it's going to be because these so-called prophets, these fake prophets, have gone out there and involved themselves in violent events, and so now they're going to link this word to the violence, and we build it up, more violence, more anti-small hat talk. World War III erupts into 2024, and they get ready to implement this MOTB. First of all, what they'll do, they'll bring a famine of the word, because they'll say, well, we've got to stop these people speaking. They're creating all this violence and uproar around the world, and we've gone to war to defend their right to live in this westernized society. We need to stop them speaking against us. And so first they'll pull the famine of the word, and then the enemy shall come in like a flood, and some shall be beheaded for this word. And it's because of these types of scenarios that are leading us there. So they'll come out and they'll defend it. It was because of this, it was because of that. No, it's because Yahweh Bahashim, Yahweh Shai, has got you in a trick bag, and he's using you as a pawn to fulfill prophecy. The problem is he's got you on the wrong side of prophecy. The true men of the Lord, Yahweh Bahashim, Yahweh Shai, is not going to use his true prophets as bait, as fishing bait. Hook them up on a hook and throw them in the water and dangle them about. He's not going to do that. If you've got someone claiming to be a prophet, but that's not actually a prophet, bingo, that's the perfect person to use, because really Yahweh Bahashim, Yahweh Shai is not dealing with them, so he can afford to use them as fishing bait, hook them, throw them out to sea, and see what happens. So we know where this is all going, and again, this is beautiful sort of prophecy playing out. Yahweh Bahashim, Yahweh Shai is the ultimate chess player. You see, speaking this word is actually against the law, because we're speaking against his kingdom, and we're talking of its destruction. We're here to speak the word, and we're not here to take any action. It's Yahweh Bahashim, Yahweh Shai that takes the physical action, makes the telephonic events occur. Yet, we're speaking this word. So, really, you could, for example, you have the First Amendment. Yeah, the First Amendment guarantees our right to free expression and free association, which means that the government does not have the right to forbid us from saying what we like and writing what we like. We can form clubs and organizations and take part in demonstrations and rallies. So that's the your so-called freedom to speak. Now it says here what speech is not protected by government. You have your freedom to speak, but certain speaking is not protected by government, pretty much against the laws. It says the court generally identifies these categories as obscenity, defamation, fraud, incitement, fighting words, true threats, speech integral to criminal conduct, and child pornography. So Yahweh Shai is coming in as a thief. and we're warning you of it. So we're giving you speech integral to what they would call criminal conduct, incitement. We're not really inciting people. We don't tell people to go out and create violence, but we're telling you that violence will occur. We do have fighting words, and the things that we say, these threats, we pretty much give them threats from Yahweh B'Hashem, Yahweh Shai. We tell them that he's coming to punish them, and for what reason. So, back to Revelation chapter 11 and 11, great fear fell upon them. And that's what's happening now. So, they know who the enemy is. And technically what we do is, going against the powers that be. So at some point, they're going to escalate us, put us in line with the violence, escalate it to a high level, and then have a very good reason to drag you from the street corner, reading your book, reading your Bible, to drag you to the guillotine. You can't just do that and get away with it. Like I say, they'll probably bring famine of the word. Then the great persecution will take place. The enemy shall come in like a flood. They'll be dragging so-called Israelites, off the street. Good excuse to just kill off a lot of Jakes. And so that's when the guillotine comes into play. The MOTB, the digitization will be around there, because again, we're warning you of it and we're telling you what's going to happen. So, they're going to, when it comes down to it, when they pull off their major master plan, which is the MOTB, they're not going to really want us on social media doing what, as it says here, fueling violence, whether it be anti-small hat or anti-MOTB. So, these false prophets are pretty much shooting themselves in the foot. Apostle Tahar mentioned earlier, when you watched WFI, I've mentioned it before, there was a previous occasion where he got arrested on camera, and he's got the handcuffs on, and the police officer has got his hand on this brother's head, and he's sitting him down, and he's about to go into the back of the car. That moment where the copper's got his hand on your head and you're crouching down, and he's saying, sit down in the car and mind your head, and he shuts the door. And at that point, I mentioned it previously, this WFI leader, he was screaming at the top of his lungs at that point. Matthew chapter something. When you get arrested, right? I've been arrested a few times. What are you going to do at that point? What are you going to do? You've got the handcuffs on. You're about to get in the back of the car. What are you going to do? You're not going to run away. You're not going to escape. You're not going to break the chains. So just go along with what they're telling you. Otherwise, you just make the whole situation difficult for yourself. But if you're over-emotional and you overreact, then you will do that. I've been out on the streets, done various activities, running with certain people for a certain number of years, doing certain things. And when you get into that particular criminal world and you look at people and these people look, to look at them, you say, well, these people are very macho and very, you don't really want to mess with them. But I'll tell you something, a lot of them, some of them I've seen it, when the cuffs go on, all of a sudden the tears start to flow. You go, what happened to this guy? He's crying. And so all of a sudden, that you realize this person that you perceived to be a big man is actually just a small boy. Now, the difference between a man and a boy is that the man has learned to control his emotions and now is able to navigate, civilized and sophisticatedly through scenarios. The young boy has not rounded himself at this particular point. And that's why he'll, get into certain situations and react, maybe over emotional. Apostle Tahar brought this one out earlier, so I just wanted to mention this. Proverbs 14 and 16, a wise man feareth and departeth from evil, but the fool rageth and is confident. And this is exactly the description of, is it Nakwam from WFI. 14 and 17 says, he that is soon angry dealeth foolishly, and a man of wicked devices is hated. So when you look that up in a scientific form, you'd have to then say, well, what do you call someone who has outbursts. And that's a common characteristic, trait that this particular person displays. Like I say, last time I saw him with the cuffs on, he was, acting all emotional, going into that female state, screaming up the place. And the police officer's got his hand on your head, and he's just saying, "Sit down, get in the back of the car, and just be quiet." And just as that back door of the police car slams shut, the last thing you can hear is my man still screaming, Matthew chapter, blah blah blah. This person is he's over impulsive. It says, what do you call someone who has outbursts? Intermittent explosive disorder, IED, is an impulse control disorder characterized by sudden episodes of unwarranted anger. So anytime this person anybody tries to rebuke this person, and you see him, he gets angry, he gets over emotional, and then he starts just spewing out nonsense. If you watch his videos and he's doing his street speaking, he every week he gets into this emotional state where someone comes, challenges him, and instead of following the scriptures, you tell them once, you give them one admonition, twice, a third time, just leave them alone. But he'll keep going at it to the point where he's screaming at the top of his lungs, and he's all hyperventilating, and you can just hear it in the pitch of his voice. It's just hitting high notes. And like I say, I've watched him before, and I noticed this guy every week is just losing his shit every single wherever it is, Friday, Saturday, when he goes out. It says the disorder is typified by hostility, impulsivity, and reoccurrent aggressive outbursts. So every time, like I say, you rebuke this particular person, it's a hostile event, and that triggers his impulses and reoccurrent aggressive outbursts. This is people with IED essentially explode into a rage despite a lack of apparent provocation or reason. So, and that's what you're witnessing here. So, really, I don't believe this particular person is paid off. What I do believe is that he's so unwise in his behavior, and he has such a lack of control that he has these IED moments. So, when the idea gets brought to him, the Palestinians are going to protest along our normal route where we normally teach, instead of having a calm moment and deciding a mature moment and deciding maybe this week we'll move the camp somewhere else, his mind will explode and it will say, no, we'll go out there, confront them. That's, as he keeps saying, defending Yahweh B'Hashem Yahweh Shai. You didn't defend Yahweh B'Hashem Yahweh Shai. Yahweh B'Hashem Yahweh Shai is dividing the people, he's bringing a telephonic event. But this guy is so immature in the spirit that he can't actually see it. So he's getting amongst it and mingled in it. And then he claims to be defending Yahweh B'Hashem Yahweh Shai. Yahweh B'Hashem Yahweh Shai is using him as a dispensable tool. When you have a disposable knife, you only have to use it once. Once you finish, just throw it away. You don't even have to wash it. Don't bother with it. It did its job as being a knife. And that knife, that little plastic disposable knife, he probably thought he was a real knife. But you're not a real knife. You're not a silver, well-designed knife. You're just a plastic disposable knife. And so what Yahweh B'Hashem Yahweh Shai is going to do is going to use him, which he has done. He keeps telling you it's all over social media. The BBC are telling you that social media is fueling anti-small hat violence. So ultimately, looking at it from the position of the Most High, he's used this tool to stir up these people, and when he's done, he'll throw him away. And don't be surprised if 2024 has to bring the third woe and all hell breaking loose, then it has to bring the breakup of these false camps. And Lord willing, any members of the elect out of there, will find the correct path, should we say? So that's what you're witnessing. This particular person, and I'll leave you with this. This is Proverbs 16:29. It says, "A violent man enticeth his neighbour, and leadeth him into the way that is not good." So, who's the violent man? Esau. And in America, these Edomites, Idumeans, I should say, and these Jakes are living side by side. And so it's easy to come into contact with one. You're living your daily life, and it's easy for them to, speak in your ear and get you roused up and drag you into, he says, he leadeth him into the way that is not good. He shutteth his eyes to devise forward things, moving his lips, he bringeth evil to pass. And like I say, so if you're not wise in the spirit, you're a little bit gullible, you're not sure, you've got these tendencies to explode and be impulsive, then you're going to find yourself caught up in this scenario. And if you do, you're not really, shouldn't really class yourself as a prophet or the member of the elect. Just class yourself as a disposable tool of Yahweh, Bahashim, Yahweh Shai. So I hope that's edifying. I'll leave the link for these articles in the description box. How social media is fueling anti-small hat violence. So, don't get into these violent situations and then make the claim that it's all over social media, because you're purposely linking yourself, whether you realize it or not, to this particular anti-small hat violence. I mean, talk about simple does what simple does. All praises to Yahweh, Bahashim, Yahweh Shai, Bahashim, Rakak, Wadash. And until next time, Shalom.